Well guys, unfortunately it looks like it might be another couple weeks before I get my pistons or even my fuel pump. Pretty crazy back order, but today I figured I'd do a little video about the manifold. A lot of you guys have been asking about which one I went with and just kind of share some tips and tricks, kind of my thoughts on the sidewinder and whatnot. Just give you guys a little bit of information, so let's hop into that. So I decided to change a couple things with my wastegate location. As you guys know, I've had it running out the bottom. And I mean, that's how tight of a fit it is. Pretty damn close to the manifold. And I really don't like that location. The only reason I did go with bottom was because my original plan was to run my screamer tube just down alongside my manifold and weld it into my downpipe because I am running a stock exhaust with a cutoff, so just have the option of being quiet. But when you're cruising around with your stock exhaust and the cutoff closed, well, you're not really flooring it, so whatever, it doesn't really make sense. And there's not a whole lot of room. Actually, I've had this thing come loose on me once, and it was really hard to get to, just to tighten that V-band clamp. You can see all the black soot. It backed out and was leaking exhaust. So, you know, if you're tuned on 14 pounds and you're bleeding your exhaust prematurely, well, you're not going to be building up the desired boost pressure. And another thing is, I am going to be running an electronic 4-port boost controller, and as tight it is already, it's just going to be so much easier. Plumb everything up top, run it to my, run this to the turbo, run the other side into the controller, and I'm just going to do a hood exit. I just think it's going to be a lot easier for maintenance. It's going to open up a lot of room because the wire's coming off the engine the way I kind of wired it. I had the wastegate all heat wrapped, so I didn't burn anything or melt anything. It worked just fine, besides, being hard to get to. So just a heads up for you guys that are planning on going turbo. That's kind of my 2 cents on it. It was really snug. I had this screamer pipe sitting up against the manifold and it kept rubbing. I actually tore up my heat wrap. And as you can see, this is actually 2 different styles of heat wrap. I bought this one first, and then I ended up running out of it, so I bought another one. And it turns out they weren't the same, because this one, you can see it's still holding its color, whereas this one's starting to fall apart, and it's completely white now. It was originally kind of like a darker gray, charcoal gray. So we're going to get this all taken off and rewrap it. So real quick, here's the manifold unwrapped. In fairly good condition. I did wash my engine bay, so I got the heat wrap wet. There's really no rust on this thing. I know some people kind of freak out about that. There is some rust around here, but overall it's actually in really good condition. And this was the Acura RSX Type S manifold, and this was the original clamp for it. The wastegate location, and I had to shorten it. So if you guys are going to be going with this one, just keep that in mind. And as I mentioned earlier, I had to cut it and shorten it, and it fit, but it was super tight. So if you're going to try to run something like this, well, you're going to have to do a pretty major wire tuck, or delete your heater core lines, which that's obviously an option. Not for me. I want to keep my car as is, but with a flipping turbo. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this manifold. So it turns out they actually sell a plug kit for these. It's just a blocker plate with a clamp so I won't have to do any welding. I'll be able to use this piece for the top. And I think I got to weld it at a slight 45, going with the direction of the exhaust, or 90. I don't think you want it, you know, leaning back the other way. Still doing some research. It's just I want to get it set up for the best flow. So I think just 145 mil or 44 millimeter wastegate's going to work for me, and I will have the option of running a second one if you know, pushing 600 horsepower is going to require a second one. One thing I forgot to mention is I believe you can run your stock water housing where your heater core lines run to the back of the firewall if you run your wastegate on top. If you run it on the bottom, obviously you're going to have to probably get the K-tuned water housing like I did. It's got a swivel on it and a couple like a dash 10 fitting on there where you can run your throttle body. But if you get a manifold with the wastegate on top, you can leave all that stock as far as I know. I haven't tested that for sure, but I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, because that's the only reason why I went with that water housing, was because the wastegate was just sitting right on top of it. And then obviously you are going to have your exhaust coming off of the back of the turbo, so that's something to watch out for as well. You're going to have your heater lines running straight back to the firewall. You're going to have your fuel line and a bunch of electricals, so you're just going to have to either extend the lines, make them longer, delete your heater core, or heat wrap your exhaust and get all that wrapped with some heat tape. So I was super fortunate enough to get the Type S oil pump, brand new. I got the baffle plate, some of the bolts, and a new chain. And I know these things are crazy hard to find. I lucked out, hit up a guy on Facebook, and he just so happened to have one. He also worked with me on finding a baffle plate, the chain, and the bolt, and shipped everything to me pretty quick, so huge shout out to him. I don't know his name, but if you're watching this video, appreciate it. I think this is the last one he had. If you guys are trying to buy one, I can ask him if he'll possibly have any more. I know a couple of you guys are looking for a Type S oil pump. So also, the flex fuel sensor came in. This is from K-Mod. And the 4-port boost controller. But, you know, can't really do much with it right now without it being in the motor. To be honest with you guys, I'm not 100% sure what all of this is. Oh, that's some sort of tuner by the looks of it. Flex fuel converter. I'm not sure if I have to run that or not, if that's a computer or what that is. I'm not I don't know too much about flex fuel. All I know is it makes some good power. I'll talk to some experts about all that. They're gonna help me kind of guide me along so I can get the flex fuel all wired up. I'll definitely record that and give you guys some insight on that as well. So yeah, that's about it. We're still, like I said, waiting on pistons so I can get the block machined. And well, the other thing I can do while I'm waiting on the pistons, you know, would have been doing the whole fuel system, running the Dash 8 lines, which I still can. And I'm probably going to do that, start running the lines, and rebuild the sending unit. I don't have the pump yet, but I'll get going on that. Switching over to dash 8 for the feed, and I'm going to keep my dash 6 as the return. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.